Get ready. Thank you everyone for coming. If you're planning to go somewhere else, I'm very sorry we're stuck in here now. Our title's Saving Money in Space with Tiny Computers, and it doesn't say anything about saving time. Okay, just saving money in space. So now I think my stuff saves time. These guys, I don't know. But thanks for coming. I wanted to ask a few questions before we got started. You guys can jump into. I have some questions I want to ask. How many of you are kind of makers and build your own stuff? Okay. How many of you just assume just go and buy it and just be done with it? Okay, I'm kind of one of those guys.
Can I ask a question?
No.
How many came in here just to have a place to hang till the next session?
We like you.
The only reason I came here is because Tom's in here. I have to see what new gadget he's doing.
What's going on here?
I have a Pi, I would just never use it for anything with a deadline. Personal project.
There you go. Apple users primarily. Windows users primarily. Wow.
Wow.
Arduino?
Google.
I own one. I haven't done
Linux.
anything with it.
Linux. Okay. Usually we just have the back row saved for Linux people. Okay. And how many of you have noticed a change in your budget since 2008? Okay. 2 hands in the back. Just 2 hands per person, please. How about a change in your staffing level?
Oh my gosh.
Okay. For the better. Hands up. Ooh.
Sorry.
Is that a shy hand up?
No, it was. Yeah. We don't want to feel bad. We don't want to.
Okay. Okay, so you guys are increasing staff.
Compared to the percentage of people who saw it.
All right, so we'll take a minute to introduce ourselves if you don't know us. I'm Phil Bohl from Pepperdine. Tom Ryan.
We're going from the bottom to the top. I'm Tom.
Yeah, come closer to the bottom.
I'm Chris Bombardo from UT Tennessee.
And Chris, without further ado.
My microcomputers, I do a lot more, we do a lot with Pis, not or digital signs and stuff like that. But what we do a lot of testing and playing with is we build a little bit more hardware. So we use Arduino boards. So Arduino boards just is a processor basically, and you write everything that processor does. So you're controlling and writing the hardware. So we're going down to the hardware level to create stuff, such as our camera scan station. So our students don't go in, have room reservation or anything like that. We actually wrote a device when they scan their ID card, it takes their ID, verifies them, checks them in the database, makes sure they can record, and then provides permission to the camera, starts the camera, controls the camera. So we're taking the tiny computers, the little things, all the way down to the hardware and creating our own hardware.
What do you use to write?
Arduino has its own little language. It's a cross between Java and JavaScript, kind of C# in that area. It's a free IDE. One of these boards, this one has a PoE, so we don't have to run power to them. Without the PoE, they're about $26. With the PoE, they're about $20 more, so about $46 you can find them for. They make them in all different kinds of shapes. For Halloween, you use little lily pads you can sew on, use conductive thread, sew on lights, sensors, and everything else. They're pretty...
I still think what a PoE is.
Does everybody know what a PoE is?
No.
Power over Ethernet. Power over Ethernet. So we don't have to run power to stuff we do. We try to run everything PoE. So we can plug it in, we power our screens with the PoE, we power the board with the PoE.
And you save $500 per location.
Yeah, and we don't have these big old outlets on the wall if we have a kitchen. And we try to do a lot of fun projects with them too. I built hexacopters, control that, GPS, all our putting an iBeacon through the school with, we actually do that with the Raspberry Pi. So there's a lot of little things that you can do with these micro small computers. And we're starting to get a lot more of them in the school. And my thing was, when I looked at this, is what is a small computer? What's a tiny computer? Is it down to chip level? For us, it is. We do. That's what we do. And instead of, you look at it as, this is the processor, and it feeds your phone or whatever device you have. So it's more like multiple computers working together, and that's how we're seeing these tiny computers through law school. And that's what we're working on. It's the students or faculty who still use the device they're used to, but we'll send data to them through these. And there's all kinds of Linux boards on them. There's new one coming out from Kickstart. It's a $9 PC, has a wireless, HDMI out, and it's $9. So, and they can do little tasks, whatever you tell them to do, which I find really neat. And it's very cost effective. But you do need the resources to be able to think up the idea, develop the idea, program the idea.
And a $2,500 3D printer.
3D printer, if you want to make them more pretty. We 3D print cases and put them in and make them look good.
So do you have FTE, how many FTE do you have that actually do the development work for these devices?
Me.
So if you were to leave the institution,
He's on salary.
I mean, is there somebody that would be able to pick that up?
Yeah, I think so. We're training people. One of our worker, Mike here, like he's learned all the 3D Google SketchUp so he can design the cases. So one thing I try to do is we try to isolate time for out of the week or out of the day that our employees can learn something. So if they want to learn something like Mike did the 3D SketchUp, he wanted to learn how to design the cases and that. So what we did is basically called it, not really lunch break, but we'd isolate him for an hour or a day or a week or time that we didn't make him go out on tickets. He just worked and studied and learned something. The workers like it, they learn, they get to play, and the school gets to benefit. So, but to me, I mean, if you have specialized programs, Banner, when you hire somebody for Banner, if you have Banner, you look for somebody that can work in Banner, or you train them. So when you hire somebody, they'll hire somebody that supports the hardware and resources there if we needed to get somebody. So you always look for somebody that supports that hardware and resources when you hire them. It's nothing different. We just have different hardware we're looking for a little bit more specialized people. Or people that are willing to train and learn.
I'll add to that. My colleague and I, Tim, we went to the Digital Science Expo last year in Las Vegas. I don't know if anyone's ever been there. But as we walked around the floor, we saw plenty of the $30,000 solutions, the $40,000 solutions. But way in the back, way far in the back, there were people who were doing digital signage on these type of devices. Granted, they were 1 or 2 people compared to 100 other people. The money's obviously not, these were enthusiasts that were building and designing whole systems that were built around Arduino systems and were built around Raspberry Pi systems. So there was actually a commercial vendor that was building on this space. So it's not that it's just going out on your own here doing something that other people haven't thought about. It's not as prevalent. Most people, when they think of digital signage, they think of very expensive solutions, both hardware and software.
And for Raspberry Pis, you can buy the digital signage software that just loads the website for a $5 donation to a site, and they send it. And when I say I'm the only one that programs the Arduino board. We have somebody that does the web, that have polls, and really everything in the background is standard. We're doing SQL calls, we're doing JavaScript and stuff like that. It's just the program, the hardware, that's the one unique thing that I do.
Can I just say, one of the beautiful things about what he's done with his digital signage, and you have how many, like 14 of them?
16.
16, and they're not real big. He's running them over Ethernet. So in our school, we want to put screens outside of every door with the status of that room. And I've been waiting for HD-based-T to come along and power screens. We're not quite there yet. But he's made his own HD-based-T solution, essentially. So he's running his signal and his power and control over one Cat5, Cat6 cable.
Cat5.
Cat5, and it's all in one beautiful little unit, just puts it on the wall. All you have to do is run a cable drop to that location and you're there. Now, somebody's got to write the code and make it all happen, but you can do that.
With that one, we really didn't, because we downloaded the digital signage for that, installed it on there. You put the page you want to pull, and you pull on a website. So, I mean, that one, the code is very, very minimal.
Is there like an open source community on some of the code that you guys are writing?
Well, so to be more specific, and I'll show you when we look at the Pi, all you're doing is loading a website on the Pi. So any solution that does digital signage via delivering web pages can be pointed to the Pi or the Arduino.
One thing is, though, he had to make his enclosure, he had to make his brackets, he did everything custom.
Yeah, we 3D printed the holders, made all the sign frames out of wood, and then we stained them to match the school, so they matched all the wood colors and everything within the school.
Am I up? Oh, by the way, feel free to ask questions. You know, I brought 3 machines here for folks to look at, and at the end, while we're taking questions and stuff, people feel free to come up and handle this stuff. Does that mean?
Yeah.
All right. I forget it was me.
It's a very unique slide. It says Phil.
I don't do the mini microcomputer. I'm not a programmer. I mean, how many of you guys in here can do what these guys do? Don't brag about it. Yeah, a couple of people. Okay. All right, these boxes that I brought, they're all Windows boxes. I mean, you can run Linux on them, and hopefully you guys can come forward and look at them later, because we took them apart so you can kind of see how they're built. We're a Windows shop at Pepperdine. We have, you know, 15 classrooms, and we have PCs in all the lecterns, and we have about 100 employees, and everybody's got a PC on their desk. And we're looking for a way to save money with our hardware rollover. I mean, does anybody care about that? Is everybody fully funded for their hardware turnovers? We had a guy who was a former chairman of the Board of Regents at Pepperdine who called me up one time and goes, "Oh, I think my computer's a little slow." I checked, his machine was 7 years old. And he's a guy that, he doesn't have problems, he's fine, he doesn't raise a ruckus, but you know, when something happens, we want to take care of it. Holy cow. And we watch our inventory much more closely now, so we don't run into that situation again. But when you're turning over a machine that's $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 every 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, whatever you're doing, I mean, we're kind of at a 4 or 5 year cycle now. Is that consistent, or what are you guys doing? Anybody beyond 5 years?
Are you still at 3?
Mr. 3 back there.
University. Laptops are 3 years, desktops are 4.
Yeah. Yeah, our policy now is 4. And then when we hit 4, then we have to scramble. We don't do them all at once, thank God. But at any rate, I'm looking for a way that we can get a reliable machine that's not going to cost that much. We stopped replacing monitors years ago for the desktops. We just replaced the desktops. It was so much more cost effective. But for the most part, everybody's got a laptop. So, you know, do you buy a $500 laptop for a faculty member that travels around the world all the time? Yeah, we don't. We spend real money on those. But for the desktop stuff, the stuff we can control fairly easily, we don't need to spend $1,000, $1,500 on a desktop. What are you doing? We're processing web browsing. We're not editing video in faculty offices or in classrooms. So I started looking for something in 2012 for our lecterns in the classrooms, because we had a renovation coming up in our classrooms. And in the end, what we ended up doing was we bought 1U pizza boxes and put them in the lecterns. We found a guy I was at Infocom, ran into some manufacturer, just started talking to him. I said, "Can you make me a 1U PC? Has anybody ever tried to buy a 1U PC? I'm talking about a server." And for those who don't know what I mean by 1U PC, it's essentially a box that's super thin that fits in a rack. If you open up most lecterns, you're going to find probably a Dell or an HP mini tower sitting up in there. It's not designed to be in a box. It's designed to be out on a desk or under a desk. Heat dissipation is not wonderful for a system like that in a rack. So we went to a place called Polywell, and kind of makes you wonder how they came up with the name. And they built us an i7 Windows machine that we then sent to our lecture capture company, Panopto, and Panopto certified it as a Panopto OK recording machine. We put that in all our classrooms. They were just under $1,000 a piece. That is not the cheapest way to go. But that kind of got me started on thinking, you know, what else can we do about desktop machines? So we spent a lot of time in our digital signage trying to find a good machine. We went through a bunch of different machines for our digital signage. And we ended up going with the XI3, which is this form factor. It's very small. The whole, it's made out of machined aluminum. The whole body is a heatsink. They're very efficient. They run on, I want to say, 30 watts. And it has a fan, but it's really quiet. and it's super modular. Now these guys at XI3, I also ran into those at Infocomic, those guys. They, their system is completely modular. So, and they've developed their systems for like large customers, like say a government, and where they have a regular cycle. But all you do is you go in and you change the card. You don't change the case, you don't change the power supply. If you have a special need for ports, you put that order in, they build it custom for you. It used to be it was $100,000 for them to build a custom board for you. And now it's pittance because they've scaled up. But if you, later if you want to come up, you can look at this. Everything is a daughter card on the case, or on the main board. There's your processor, here are your IOs, and then you have and this is your graphic card. This guy can run 3 4K displays simultaneously. And it's a souped-up AMD chip.
Do all these have external power supplies?
Yeah, yeah.
How big's power supply?
It's just a little brick, just like an HP or.
And that runs Windows?
Yeah, yeah. This one ships with OpenSUSE. And I installed Windows 10 on. This thing is a rocket. It is good. I played with a benchmarking program called CATZilla. Has anybody heard of CATZilla? It's for game people that build gaming machines. And this one blew doors on all of the other equipment. It comes standard with 8 gigs of RAM, and you know, it's a terrific machine. But it's almost $900. Thing is you can put these guys. They have a tray that they made for these for the rack. You can rack, you know, dozens of these in a 42U rack, and just you know, generates very little heat, takes very little power, and you can put a really dense, essentially supercomputer in one 42U rack. If that's interesting for you.
Very.
Yeah. And so that's the XI3. Then this is a NUC. Has anybody heard of the NUC NUC from Intel? Yeah. So it's a little bit bigger than an Apple Mini, Mac Mini.
It's thicker. It's not as.
It's thicker.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is an Intel i5, runs an Intel BIOS. Oh, this one. You guys remember American Megatrends BIOS? This is running American Megatrends. I haven't seen that in a while. This one running Windows 10 on it. Very perky little guy. I said it was an i5, right? Max RAM on both of these is 16 gigs. And this one configured now, it comes with just the case and the processor. You got to put a hard drive in it, you got to put Wi-Fi in it, you got to put memory in it. Altogether, this was $630. And this will beat any machine that I have in my building as far as a desktop computer goes. And this one draws, I think, 65 watts. So it's a little more than your guys' stuff. But this is a desktop replacement. And for the money, if you're not driving digital sign, like 3 4K screens, which this one can do with no problem, this is a great machine for desktop. And you can pick and choose. There's all kinds of different configurations for this one. But it's got USB 3.0. It's got it doesn't have the native HDMI. It's got mini HDMI, so you got to get a special cable for that. And DisplayPort is a rock solid box. And then I've got the HP Stream 200 Mini. This is a $179 PC, and there's not a lot to it. You can kind of see the case. The form factor is not real big, and this is really like a home theater PC, light. It's not a giant monster, but it streams beautifully, and I'm actually impressed. For $179, and I added some RAM to it. It comes with 2 gigs. I put it up to 10 gigs because I bought an 8 gig chip and put it in there. I put this on my mom's desk, okay, and she's able to do everything she wants to do with it. It's, you know, it's not for editing video. It's not for doing heavy stuff. But if you just want a good machine That's going to be a digital sign. You don't have to do anything to it. Just plug it in and use it. It comes with Windows 8.1 with Bing. Does anybody know what that means? Windows 8.1 with Bing? It doesn't mean it comes with Bing. Everything comes with Bing now.
It comes with Bing as the default. And you can change it.
It's free for the audience.
It's
but I'm-
free. That's right. You don't. The manufacturer doesn't pay for it. You don't pay for it. And that's the thing. And there's no difference. They're just saying with Bing, that's their code for it, it's free. So no one paid a license fee for it. So if you're a OEM, you can go to Microsoft and they'll give you as many Windows with Bing and Windows 8.1 with Bing as you want. Put on your Chromebook competitor, put it on your mini PC, and it's supposed to keep the price down because Microsoft is losing market share to these smaller form factors where people are shipping Android, and I don't know, is there another? There's not another OS really that's competing with Microsoft in that space, but they're going to put it on the.
They're telling people the little Intel stuff's coming in Ubuntu.
Oh yeah, oh in Linux, yeah. So.
The little operating system that is Linux.
Has anybody heard of it? Intel's new CompuStick? So Intel has a new $169 computer. Probably pull one out if you want to. It is a Windows 8 machine in a stick, about that big. It has HDMI out. It has 2 gigs of RAM. If you can buy it with Windows 8 or Ubuntu. It has 1 gig if you buy the Ubuntu. What are the next one?
Is everyone else really excited how Google makes all of their links go through them first? Did you notice?
So that's a full Windows 8 machine built by Intel now. They just came out. And even Intel's advertising these as if you're running digital sign. It runs IE, it's Windows 8 with Bing, it's free. Or if you want the Linux one, it is Ubuntu on it, yeah.
But it's cheaper.
They didn't announce if it's going to be cheaper, but I'm sure it is because it's only coming with 1 gig of memory.
It has an HDMI plug in right there, and then you have a power you have to plug in over here. It has flash.
USB 2.0, and I think that's it. And Bluetooth built in and Wi-Fi is built in. So.
How do you guys address security on all of these nice small portable devices? It's so easy for somebody to
I'm going to talk about that.
yank it in. Okay.
I'm going to talk about that.
You're talking about physical security and
Physical security.
digital security.
Most of ours, we print cases, they're in cases and screwed to the wall.
Okay.
So they can't get access to them unless they take the whole case off.
And Phil.
But our students don't steal.
I was just saying, when we walked up this morning to the law school, I noticed all of the speakers outside with plastic over them and the audio equipment that was up there with just a cover over it. And I was thinking, wow, it must be nice in Camden, New Jersey.
So as far as pricing, Phil, is this like standard, if you buy onesie, twosie, that's just the price? Is there any bulk pricing that you usually
Well, I know with XI3, we deal with them all the time. We don't have hundreds of their machines, but since we brought them to Pepperdine campus, a lot more departments have been buying them for labs and things. So when we ask, like this one I got for free, but when we ask them, they usually work with us. It's not that big a deal. Now the Nook, I bought it from Amazon. Okay, they're not giving me any special deals.
Right.
Now, it turns out XI3 also sells the Nook, so I haven't tried to price them in quantity, but I'm sure they'll give us a break if we ask them to. This thing is kind of a...
So what he's saying, just say you know Phil.
Feel free to drop my name. This HP Stream Box, I don't know that you're going to get one. I wouldn't buy these in quantity, frankly. I think they're a one-off machine. They're really a consumer machine.
I think my HP rep would probably laugh if I asked him that, yeah.
Now, they have different versions of this, actually. They cost more that they may not laugh at you. But this is the consumer one. But it comes with an SD. All these come with SD drives, or you can put them in there. So they're pretty perky. I mean, it's surprising how fast they are. This is a Celeron, and 10 gigs of RAM. I mean, it's snapping right along. I could not get Windows 10 to install on this. I meant to mention that. And I could not get Office 2013 to install. Now, it may be me. I've probably messed something up. But I got OpenOffice on there, and it works great. So, and I did try Office, an older version of Office. I didn't play around with that.
You mentioned the XI3 Nooks. Just looking those up, those are right between $500 and $650.
Yeah, this one's a little more.
Yeah.
But this one also has, it has 4 USB 3s on it, and it has 4 eSATAs on it. I mean, this is like a server, this machine, and it has 3 how do you say, not USB 3, the digital. The video, the video processor is very powerful, and it'll push out 3 different HD signals up to 4K each. So this is not a casual machine, but it's only $900 or $800. It comes out to about $900 when you get it. So
They also
About how
make
big
one
are
just-
those?
sorry.
About how big are they physically? Or the stick?
Oh, the stick, these?
Yeah.
A little bigger than your finger. Yeah. Like a Wrigley's pack of gum, the skinny ones. Yeah, they're the same size as the Amazon Fire Stick. Have you seen that, the Chromecast? They're about the same
Hey
size.
Phil, scroll down, there's probably dimensions on there. If you get rid of the picture, there's probably dimensions just a little bit down. Keep going. Keep going. Right
There you go.
There we go. 5.8 by 3.4. Yeah, that sounds bigger though.
That's the
not
box.
that big. Yeah,
Amazon does that a lot.
yeah,
Ship-
That's not the actual size.
Shipping weight, 12 ounces.
There you go.
yeah. The thing I don't like about those is you always have to run another cord, and you have to have a wall wards for the power. But
At least on the Chromecast, it's just a little USB whip. So if you have USB on the TV, throw the wall ward away, or try your phone with it.
You could probably, it's a USB.
I won't swear to you, I think,
Yeah, you can probably run this off of that.
USB too.
I don't remember what it's called.
USB 10.
TVs have a special HDMI that also provides power.
Oh, no.
So if you have one of those, then you don't even need the USB power.
Nice.
But most HDDs come with a HDMI and a USB right next to each other,
Yep.
specifically for these purposes.
have you guys heard of
It's like
HD base T?
or something like that?
Is anybody familiar with that standard HD base T? They call it 5-play, and it allows you to run signal, digital audio. Okay, I'm sorry. Like 1080p of video, digital audio, control, like the CEC control that you use for your television. That's consumer electronic control. So you have those 3 controls, plus Ethernet, plus 100 watts of power, all on one Cat5e cable. Now, everything I've looked at with HD base T, they're not pushing power yet to drive anything like a screen, like what Chris is doing. But they're doing everything but the power, and it's pretty slick. Crestron, AMX, Extron, Geffen, a lot of these guys now are coming in, and the 2nd and 3rd tier electronics manufacturers are building all kinds of stuff in this area. Samsung and I think it's Panasonic, they both have, on their commercial displays, on their big commercial displays, they have HD base T cards. So you only have to have 2 cords now. You have a cord for power and 1 for everything else, which is pretty cool, in my opinion. So, any questions on this, Tom?
So, you don't have to switch the slide, but all right. So, we started using Raspberry Pis for digital signage a few years ago. We have one of them running on the system there. No, it doesn't matter. We can leave it. We went with Raspberry Pi because for those of you that came to Cali in 2010, Rutgers came and hosted Cali that year, we had deployed digital signage on all of our classroom doors. And when we had done that, we did that by taking old computers. So we were taking 7-year-old computers, 8-year-old computers. In fact, the first generation of digital signage that we deployed back then ran on Dell Optiplex GX150s. And what we did is we took these old machines, GX150 is a really old machine, and we loaded it up with 7 or 8 video cards. And we put we just took these machines, we loaded them up as many video cards as we could shove in these boxes, and then we used DVI Cat5 converters to send the signal out to all of our digital signs in the building. And so at the time we had 35 or 36 displays, and we had 5 computers, old computers that were running all of those signs. And it was great. And we were able to do that for a cost of about $400 a display. And when I say $400 a display, that was not inclusive of the cable run or the power run, because obviously we were doing DVI over Cat5, we didn't have power at the location. That was pretty cheap. That included, we were buying standard computer monitors, we were buying these cards, we were sending the splitters and everything else. And it was a great solution. It worked very well for us. We were able to do some pretty neat things, and we were able to have digital signage everywhere. And that we thought was pretty neat. When we came time for us to start at the next, the evolution of digital signage for us, we wanted to have more control to do some interesting things at each display, but we didn't want to put a PC, a typical PC at each display. So we bought Raspberry Pis. They were relatively new at the time. They were $35. And so we deployed only 4 of them in our building. It was an upgrade trial to see how we could do running the Raspberry Pis. We're in Camden. When we started this process, we realized that we had to secure things. So we didn't have a 3D printer, so we bought a case. I think this case cost $8. Not 100% sure.
Not $2,500 plus materials?
Not $2,500 plus materials. So, no offense, Chris.
But you only got 1 case.
Yeah, I only got 1 case for $8. So we bought this case for the Raspberry Pi. It's not an official case. For any of you that follow the Raspberry Pi Foundation, they just recently announced an official case. This was one of many third-party cases that was being sold. The reason why we bought this case over any other cases is for an additional like 37 cents, we were able to buy this piece of plastic. This piece of plastic, when you put the case together, it kind of slides in like this. And you might be asking yourself, well, what does that do? Well, again, we're in Camden.
They're not unplugging your screen.
No, it's not that they're not unplugging our screen. But if you look, here's the Raspberry Pi that we used, and you can see this thing sitting up right on top. This is an 8 gig SD card. We were worried that without this being protected, somebody, I don't know, a student would find out, well, I can go and just grab all the 8 gig SD cards I need from the equipment. So we ended up picking a case that would allow us to secure that. We then had to get a little creative. We bought a metal plate from Monoprice. Everybody knows what Monoprice is, right? And so we put these metal plates in between the monitor, the mount, and the wall mount. And then we drilled holes in that metal plate, and we screwed the Raspberry Pi case onto that mount. We stuck it on the back, plugged it into the same network jack that we were using, and we were able to replace our existing solution. Now the cost to move to the Raspberry Pi, again, as I said before, the cost before was $400, and that was the display, all the other hardware. We already had the displays, but even if we had to buy a new one, it was $100 to buy a 20-inch, 22-inch display. $35 for the Pi, right? Miscellaneous expenses, maybe another $35. So now we took our $400 cost and we went down to $170, give or take. So for $170 at each location, we now have digital signage. We were ecstatic. We had cut the cost in half, and now...
Not pocket, not time.
Yeah, well, time. Right? So anyway, Phil and his... I'll take the $170 solution over the $900 solution for digital signage. But, so we were able to drop the cost significantly, and we had a computer at each location. So we opened up a world of possibilities of what we could do at that location. What we are working on right now is we bought these little Bluetooth adapters. And I know that Chris has a lot of them as well. And so we've been deploying these Bluetooth adapters. This was like a $4 add-on or a $5 add-on or something. And this is going to allow us to do iBeacon for wayfinding at each location, to develop a customized app and be able to direct students to do like point-to-point location where they're going. We're also going to be able to do alerts based on information. So, for instance, if you are, this is a great example that I love to use, is that we'll be, if the bathroom has been closed by facilities because it's not functioning. I mean, how many people here have gone to go to the bathroom and you realize the bathroom has been closed and now you have to walk to a different bathroom? It's a minor inconvenience. But if we could get our facilities department to log in and tell us, we could send an alert to everyone who's on the 3rd floor, and only the people that are on the 3rd floor, that the bathroom's out of
Can you
service.
tell who needs to use the bathroom?
So anyway.
Chip for that.
We're using the data mining that was talked about in the earlier thing. We partnered with Target. Target knows when you need to go to the bathroom, and so they're supplying all that information to us. We're quite happy about that.
To add the iBeacon to the Raspberry Pi, there's only 5 lines of code that you put on there, and it pulls down and you just assign a unique GUID after that. And it's on Seed Studio. If you go to Seed Studio, they give you step-by-step how to do it.
Very, very simple. I know it's kind of very, very complex software. So then we got a little crazy. So we had done digital signage in the law school only, but for those of you that know, we support the campus now. So we rolled out about 150 Pis across campus. So we've got about 150 of these now in production. All of the classrooms, all across campus, all of our study rooms, room, every door has a digital sign next to it. So we found out some interesting things about the Pi. One is in the law school, it worked great. Right? It was wonderful. We downloaded the Raspbian OS that comes with it. We stuck it on the card. We were like, oh great, it's working great, worked for a year, we never had a problem. When we started rolling it out across campus, we realized that it can be a little finicky depending on power and other issues. And so we had to make some changes to the operating system to make it more stable. All that really means is that the whole thing runs as read-only, because when it was set as read-write, which was the default, if we had like these tiny little brownouts that occurred during the day, the SD card eventually said, oh, don't like it, had to replace it. When you are supporting 150 of these and you have random SD cards dying and you've secured them the way that I described, it takes half an hour to go get a ladder, go to the Pi, take all the security screws out, everything else, take it down, take it apart, put it back together, and put it back up. And so needless to say, the support staff that we have that do this, we're like, no, you got to fix it, you got to find some solution. So there was some work to find out, to re-engineer, kind of the basics to make it much more stable. And now we've been running these for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years, so I think we've replaced one SD card since we came out with the fix. Before that, we were replacing an SD card, every week, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it can be very annoying. So you have to play with it, you have to tweak it a little bit, but we were pretty happy with the capability that we got from this small computing form factor. Now, you can run a distro on this, like a distribution. They actually have hardware decoding, for all the popular video formats like H.264. You can actually run this as a desktop. I wouldn't even consider it. This is the 1st generation model. It's pretty slow, I think, for doing that type of thing. But for digital signage, for us, it works great. There's a newer model out. It's the same price. It's the one that we showed you that was running Windows 10 from Chris. Again, not something that you want to run as a desktop computer replacement. Phil is showing you desktop computer replacements. These are not that. These are specialized devices to fit specific need areas that you might have. We use them for digital signage. Chris uses them for digital signage. I don't know if I would use this card versus the Arduino, depending on other operations that you were doing. It doesn't have PoE. The new model doesn't have PoE, Power over Ethernet. That's because the Ethernet on here is USB chip-style Ethernet, so it doesn't support that. So if you wanted to have something where you could set up a device with only running an Ethernet cable, if you did that over Cat5, you'd have to have a whole bunch of splitters and everything else, and that's what Chris has done, but you would have to do all of that too. I think that gets a lot more into time-consuming. In terms of support, Raspberry Pi, these are easy to buy, put the pieces together, mount it up, you can download the operating system, you can make the changes to load the web page, or you can buy or do donations to the many open source digital signage products that are out there today for this. We have a completely customized digital signage solution that meet our specific needs. We also have a programming department of 4 people. Most people probably don't have that. So if it's something you want to look at, you could get this. You could have digital signage up and running probably in 10 minutes by downloading the thing. You put it in your SD card, you write your SD card, you pop it in here, You install it, you configure it, when you're done, you have a working digital signage solution, which is really good, easy to support. Like I said, not a lot of work for us. We have a lot of them, so we've discovered some of the quirks and we've done changes to make them work better for us. One thing I did want to touch on is there was a joke made about software security in additional to physical security. I kind of laugh when I think of 1,000 computers running Microsoft Windows and digital signage and what will happen to them when they get hacked. But this obviously runs a version of Debian. So all of the updates, you have to wait for the Raspberry people, they have to be ported. I don't know if the new version, is it Intel based? No, it's still not. So you do have to wait for updates to be ported to this. But we have a tool that we run and updates all 150 at the same time. It's pretty nice, pretty simple stuff. We're very, very, very happy with it. It's been rock solid stable. It supports CEC, Consumer Electronics Control. For those of you that know what that is or don't know what that is communicating controls to TVs. Most support that over your HDMI cable. This supports it perfectly. So in the newer, if you have a CEC capable monitor, we don't. We didn't spend the extra money, we went cheap. That'll be the next version. You could do things like turning the TV on and off. You could do detection of TV being on and off, and you might say, well, why is that a big deal? We didn't build fancy cases, ours hang on the wall. For some reason, we have students who like to turn them off. Physically turn off the monitor, and I don't know why, but they like to do that. We don't have a way to turn them back on. We have no way to detect whether they're on or off. If you were to buy this, and you really want to get something nice, get something that's CEC capable, the digital signage solutions will be able to turn the monitor on and off. So you'll conserve power, plus you can make sure that the monitor is actually physically powered on when you want your digital signage to be powered on. Great solution for $35 for the base kit. Any questions about the Raspberry Pi I just talked about? So we've got both Raspberry Pis are booted up. We've shown them up on the screen. Here's the one. So you can see, just to describe what we're doing, is this boots up into Chromium, which is based on Chrome in the kiosk mode. So that's all this is. It just boots up, goes to a web page, and you can see we actually have a URL. That's the URL of our digital signage. And when you bring that up, all these phone home, and they use the JavaScript and everything else, but it's just the web page. Our digital signage is, so if you can build a web page, you can display a web page on a Raspberry Pi. It's pretty quick. We got a little fancier. We wrote a whole bunch of stuff. We didn't use it off the one of those open source digital signage solutions, but they're actually pretty good. Like I said, we had specific needs, and so we kind of wrote our own solution to do what we want.
We want to leave some time for
hands-on.
Check this.
Yes.
Quick question, on your digital signage, there's no interaction, right? They're not touchscreen signs, they're just static.
So most of them are not touchscreens. However, the Raspberry Pi does have USB ports, and so we've deployed in a couple locations touchscreens with them, as well as mag swipes. So we have one that's in our undergraduate career planning office. So for those of you, people familiar with Simplicity? Windows Simplicity. So you know how Simplicity has that kiosk login page, right? Because people have the kiosk feature of Simplicity. I think it's a $3,000 add-on. I don't know, but it's $3,000. And so what they have is, which I think is outrageous, but that's besides the point. But for $3,000, they have a touchscreen login page, and so what comes up, you can sign in, you can swipe your ID. So we've deployed the Raspberry Pi with the touchscreen and with that.
We're working on making ours interactive by using the iBeacon. So once they hit it with an iPhone or a phone that supports iBeacon, it'll push to them, or they can interact with it with their phone instead of having to walk up to the actual screen. Or push down the documents for their class, or push down the schedule.
Did you guys have to work with campus police at all for any, I don't know,
so we have
distribution of information?
Yes. So our digital signage solution has an emergency alert system. Tim could speak more to the specifics of it, but like I said, the performance is pretty decent. I'll tell you honestly, it's not for the career planning Simplicity kiosk sign-in. The performance is great. But we also have our web developer who does our kiosk development. So for our rooms, like reservation system, he has a development system that sits in his office that's a Raspberry Pi touchscreen driven, so he can use it to test his code. That certainly leaves, it's a heavy JavaScript based page and everything else. It's not the greatest for that. I think if you were going to deploy it, you'd have to spend a lot of time either buying a vendor that was heavily customized for that, or you would have to spend time optimizing your code to be better. But for the career planning, it works fine.
That's one thing that the new Raspberry Pi has.
Yes, the new Raspberry Pi has a much faster processor. I mean, obviously, I'm sure it's much better. The other thing too is that we use Chromium for the Pi because it was what we knew, what we could develop to. It works good for our digital signage, but it's not overly optimized for the Pi. I don't remember the name of it, but there is actually a browser that is optimized for the Pi, and even on the Raspberry Pi first generation, I think it's like 3 times as fast. But I don't like the kiosk mode as much, and we don't need it for that particular purpose. So anyone wants to come up or ask questions, we have all the gear here, but there is